All right, so these are our notes on solving rational equations. All right, this won't be real hard if you remember what we did when we were solving equations with fractions in them. All right, pretty much the same thing. All right, so if we take a look at example 1, we have rational expressions because they have x's and numbers and everything else in them. All right, so to remember, what we used to do is when we were doing this with just numbers, is we would find the common denominator and then multiply everything by the common denominator, and it would get rid of the fractions. So that's what we're going to do here. All right, so our common denominator, we have an x, we have a 2, an x. So our common denominator, all right, common denominator is 2x. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply everything here by 2x. All right, when we multiply 2x times 4 over x, the x's cancel out, so it leaves us with 2 times 4, which is 8. Plus, when we multiply by 5 over 2, the 2's cancel out, leaves us with 5 times x, which is 5x. And we multiply 2x times the negative 11 over x, the x's cancel out. So we have 2 times negative 11 gives us negative 22. And there we go. We don't have any more fractions involved, no more rational expression, just an equation to solve. So we would subtract 8, get 5x equals negative 30, divide by 5, and get x equals negative 6. All right, just make sure that this is a viable solution also. Looking at this, you should know right now that the domain that x cannot be 0 because we would be dividing by 0. All right, so you always have to go back. Since that's not a 0, that should be a good solution. All right. All right, example 2. So again, we look at the denominators. We got an x minus 2 and x minus 2. Well, that x minus 2, that is our common denominator. So we're going to, again, multiply everything here by x minus 2. All right, when we multiply the first term, 5x over x minus 2, the x minus 2's cancel out, leaves us with 5x equals. Then we multiply x minus 2 times 7, so we got to multiply them and distribute the 7 in there, so we get 7x minus 14. And then we multiply the 10 over x minus 2 by the x minus 2. The x minus 2's cancel out, so it just leaves us with 10. All right, and then it gives us a problem to solve. All right, again, we combine our like terms. Subtract 7x. I got negative 2x equals negative 4. Divide by negative 2. And we get x equals 2. Right? But if we look again, our domain, x can't be 2. Because if it was 2, we'd have 2 minus 2, which would give us a 0 down here. And we can't have a 0. So x equals 2 is not a good solution. That's an extraneous solution. So this problem has no solution. All right. Then we have our next one. We have 4 over x plus 1, or 4x plus 1 over x plus 1, 12 over x squared minus 1 plus 3. Again, we got to find a common denominator, so we got x plus 1 and an x squared minus 1. Well, the x squared minus 1, remember that's the difference of 2 squares. So it's x plus 1 times x minus 1. So that would be our common denominator, that x plus 1 times x minus 1. All right. So we would multiply everything here by that common denominator. All right. So we're multiplying everything here by x plus 1 times x minus 1. All right. When we multiply the first one by it, the x plus 1's cancel out. So it leaves us with x minus 1 times 4x plus 1 equals. Now we multiply x plus 1 times x minus 1 times 12 over x squared minus 1, or x plus 1, x minus 1. They cancel out, just leaves us with 12. All right, and then plus, and then we multiply this by it, it's just going to leave us with the x squared plus 1, x squared minus 1 times 3, or just 3 times x squared minus 1. Because again, that's what x plus 1 times x minus 1 is, x squared minus 1, and it'll be easier to work with when we're multiplying it by 3. All right, so now we got rid of our fractions. Now we have to FOIL this first one out. So it gives us 4x squared minus 3x and then minus 1 equals. And then we got 12 plus, distribute this, 3x squared minus 3. And then we can combine our like terms. So we got 4x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 9 plus 3x squared. All right, now I'm going to, let me rewrite it over here. All right, so I got 4x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 9 plus 3x squared. All right, so we had an x squared and an x involved in the problem, so we got to get all these over the other side and then factor it. So I'm going to subtract 9, and I'm also going to subtract this 3x squared and subtract the 3x squared. That's going to leave me with x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. And then we can factor it out. 2 sets of parentheses equals 0. X is in the front. Signs are different. Factors of 10, when we subtract it, we get a 3. It would be 5 and 2. The 5 has to go with the negative. All right, and then we set x plus 2 equal to 0. We get x equals negative 2. And we set x minus 5 equal to 0, and we get x equals 5. All right, so make sure they're good solutions. Again, x can't be a positive or a negative 1, because negative 1 plus 1 would give us a 0 here, and x can't be a negative 1 or a positive 1. So it can't be a negative 1, and it can't be a positive 1. It can be anything else. All right, so you might want to put that as the domain over here. You can always write that off to the side and just write the domain x cannot equal 1, x cannot equal negative 1. All right, you can start that off in the beginning if you want. All right, so this isn't 1 or negative 1, so that's a good solution. This isn't 1 or negative 1, so that's a good solution. So we have 2 good solutions. All right, and then you have these 2 U-tries. You can go ahead and do those 2 U-tries. I will send you out the answers. All right, so here we go. This you might find a little bit easier. All right, example 4, we're going to solve this by cross multiplying. So cross multiplying, again, we have a fraction equal to a fraction, so you just cross multiply. So I have 2 times x minus 1 on one side, and I got 1 times x squared minus x on the other side. Distribute the 2, 2x minus 2. The 1, we got x squared minus x. And then I got an x squared and an x again, so I move everything to one side. So minus 2x plus 2 plus 2. All right, so now we have x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. Factor this out. X is in the front. Signs are the same. They're both negative. And factors of 2 that add up to 3 would be 2 and 1. Set x minus 2 equal to 0. Solve it. We get x equals 2. Set x minus 1 equal to 0. Solve that, and we get x equals 1. All right. Well, we know that x can't be 1 because 1 minus 1 would be 0. So that's not a good solution. All right. And 2. All right, so this one means, looks like x can't be 0 and x can't be 1. All right, so that's the restrictions here because of this. Because if it was 0, that would give us a 0 here. And also if it was 1, it would give us a 0. And this one is just 1. All right, so can't be 1, it can't be 0. So 2 is a good solution. All right, then you got that U-try to do. All right, so you're going to do that U-try. All right, and again, I'll send you those answers, those 2. All right, and then we got the, what I call the Mrs. Callahan problem. All right, this one deals with moles. All right, so you have 0.2 liters of an acid solution whose concentration is 16 moles per liter. You want to dilute the solution with water so that the acid concentration is only 12 moles per liter. How much water should you add to this solution? All right, so concentration of new formula is going to be 12. All right, moles of acid in the original solution. Well, it had 16 moles per liter, so it's going to be 16 times we only had 0.2 liters. 0.2. All right, so 16 times 0.2. And then over the volume of the original solution, volume is 0.2, plus the volume added, and that's how much we got to add. We don't know, so we're going to call that X. All right, and you can multiply these together and everything, so it's going to give us what? 12 over 1 equals 3.2, right, over 0.2 plus X. Now, I put this over 1 because now we have a proportion, and we can just cross multiply and solve. So again, cross multiply and solve. So 1 times 3.2 gives us 3.2. 12 times 0.2 plus X. All right, we'd have to distribute our 12. So 2.4 plus 12X equals 3.2. All right, subtract 2.4. Subtract 2.4, and it leaves us with 12x equals 0.6, no, 0.8, 0.8, and then we have to divide by 12, and let's see, we got x equals, we have to multiply, well, you can just divide it out in the calculator if you want. And you'll get your answer. So we got 0.8 divided by 12, and we get our answer 0.06 repeating. All right, we could make it into a fraction. All right, if we multiply the top and the bottom by 10, will give us 8 over 120, and then divide them both by 4, which would give us 2 over 60, which reduces to 1 over 30. So that would probably be a better answer than that. All right. So 1/30th of a liter is, or 0.06 repeating. All right. But that 1/30th of a liter is probably a better answer for that one. All right. And that's it. I'll send you the homework.